very much a bonding. It's almost like the reason to get together.
Yes, that's
you know?
right.
But all the kids are running around. I remember running around, up and down, going up and down the house. Even now, as I play it, because I love the game. I love the sounds. I love, the competition of it. Hi, I'm Ellen.
Hi, I'm Elly, and this is a podcast with two Asian American women.
Living, learning, and sharing about everyday life, cross-generationally.
Welcome back, everybody. We are so thrilled to be here today. We are cracking open the tile boxes. If you might have heard that word before, it's Mahjong. So it's something that's been passed down through generations and in many, many living rooms across the world these days. So we feel like it's a relevant topic to chat about, and it's International Mahjong Day in August. I think it's August 1st, so we're playing this in August. With Mahjong, it's been something that has a lot of historical elements and cultural roots, but it's something that has taken form in different, generationally and amongst cross-culturally. Mm-hmm. So it's a fun topic that we'll talk about and delve into. But first, a little bit about what we have known growing up and whether Mahjong has been in our families or not. Ellen, tell me a little bit about just Mahjong and its role or not role in your family.
So my parents don't play it. I'm Filipino, so the way that the Filipinos play Mahjong is without the winds. So all of the winds, the flowers, all of those elements in the Filipino game, we don't really use except as sort of like, not necessarily wild, but extras. We call them flowers, and it is the main thing. Winds, all of that. We just call them flowers, and those are the ones that if you were gambling, which is what we're not talking about today, but that is when it's used. But really, kind of like just an extra. We don't play it. It's something that you put to the side, as extra points or whatnot. But the actual game itself, from what I was told anyways, is that the Filipino way is very much like gin rummy. Now, I don't play gin rummy, so I don't know, but we actually played Mahjong. I took it out and taught some friends, American friends, a couple of weekends ago. And one of the women that was there says, "Oh, this is like gin rummy." So I guess that is the truth, but that's a Filipino way. And to your question, because my parents don't play, we don't play. I learned it in college, but I have aunts that do play it, and they get together and they have their quorums and they have their Mahjong nights. So that's the extent of my
your experience.
My experience, yeah. And what about you? I mean, this being, coming from your side of the world.
Yeah. It's something that I grew up seeing, but I've never played myself. That crackling of the tiles.
I love the sound, right? Yeah. I love the sound.
Yeah, but I don't know too much about, because my family played very, very rarely, and I was kind of a little discouraged to play because of that gambling aspect of it. I think that's why. But there's so many cultural connections and connections in general that we can make when we come together and play these games, and I've heard there's so much like bonding that can happen through that too. Definitely. So I think we're pretty focused on that piece today, but wanted to share a little bit about the history about Mahjong and what it is. So if you are not familiar with it, it's a tile-based game, and it has a rich history that spans centuries and continents. So it's typically 4 people, and
it is only 4 people.
It's only 4 people, and it's depending where you sit is depending on the. It's like they use a compass to. So from what I was reading, they utilize the compass, and you sit on east, north, east, south, west. Are you familiar with that?
Well, no, because that's, again, the Filipinos don't play with that.
Okay.
But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but what Elly's talking about, since there are the winds in Mahjong, north, east, south, west, that has a lot to do with the seating and where it flows, because from what I was told, in the Chinese way of playing this game, the winds matter a lot, and the direction of the winds and the direction of the game.
Got it.
Again, in the Filipino, we don't have that.
Yeah. So. Okay, that's what you're talking about with winds. I didn't necessarily know that piece. Thank you. That's good. So it has roots in Chinese card games. So Mahjong is believed to have evolved in traditional Chinese card and domino games, like Pai Gao and Mahjong. So I might be mispronouncing that. Sorry if I am. But its popularization began during the Qing dynasty. And Mahjong, this was interesting to me, Mahjong means sparrow in Chinese. So supposedly named for the clicking sound that the tiles make, reminiscent of the chirping birds.
Which is, that's really interesting too, because, if you play Mahjong, right, there's 3 different suits. There's the balls. Well, I call them the balls. They can be the circles, whatever it is you call it. But there's 3 suits, which is the balls, the bamboo, and the characters.
Okay.
And on the bamboo, you can see on the tiles, it's all bamboo, but the one is a bird.
That's probably.
It's not just a one bamboo. Okay. It is a bird on all the as far as I know, and all the Mahjong tiles I've seen.
Yeah.
It's a bird. So I'm going, why in the heck is it a bird?
Yeah.
But now it makes sense. It's the homage to the sparrow.
That makes sense.
Oh, see? You learned something today.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think that would make sense.
Doesn't it make sense?
Yeah, it would make sense. Interesting. So the history is pretty interesting to me, and then the introduction to the West is super interesting because it says it's started around the 20s to the 40s, 1920s to the 40s, where the American and European travelers brought the game back, and it became a little bit of a fad. And then in the mid 20th century, Mahjong became really famous around the Jewish American communities, which is interesting because now the only times, the few times that I've heard it come up in my just in daily conversation is Jewish friends who I know who play Mahjong. And they're probably in their maybe 60s, 50s, 60s, and they do it as a little bit of a pastime. But I've also seen them teach younger generations, which is interesting too. So I don't know, it says, it became embedded in the Jewish American culture, especially among women, forming lasting legacy. So it's a topic that, like I said, I don't know too much about, but it's intriguing to me, and it's intriguing to you. You have some history to it. I mean, there's some relation to your family playing it, and I was always kind of pushed to not play it. That's why I never really played it. But the cool thing is it can connect people too.
Definitely.
And it doesn't have to be about money. It can just be about fun and connection. And I love that piece to it.
Yeah, it's really, in my family, it's, and I say family in the sense of, they're friends that are very close, that they become family, because everybody, in the Philippines are tito or titas, right? But my titas, they get together, and it's really like, growing up, I remember it was every Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, sometimes it would go late into Sunday, right before church, but it's a way to, who's going to bring the food, who's going to be, so it's very much a bonding. It's almost like the reason to get together.
Yes, that's right.
So, and the kid again, it's just the floor, the quorum, right? That place, the thing. But all the kids are running around. I remember running around, up and down, going up and down the house. I like I said, I learned it in college.
Yeah, wow.
And but it's even now as I play it, because I love the game. I love the sounds. I love the competition of it. But it's a very much trying, because you can't play it if you can't find your quorum. So if you don't have the force, so even within the Filipino community, when I'm there, I'm like, who wants to play? I only have 3. Who wants
Yeah.
So yeah. But how did you learn Mahjong from a family member?
No, I didn't learn. I've never learned Mahjong.
So you never played?
No, I've only seen it. I
gotta teach.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, it's fun. It's really, it's fun. But
when you bring in that aspect of food and connecting, I think that's kind of, if it's at the core of like who just bonding. I love that connection piece, because it's in our world today, we can become so disconnected when we are so connected on our phones, right? But disconnected in the face-to-face interactions and just getting to know each other. And so I love that it bonds people, and then food comes into play too, right? So you can bring the different types of food. And I think it is like, let's say people play dominoes sometimes too. So it could be anything. It can be Mahjong, but it can be other things. But finding things that bring us together to communicate, to build community, to build that cultural bond, or just bonds in general, right? To get to know each other. I think that that's so important in the world that we live in today, especially when COVID happened too, and everybody was so definitely disconnected. To have a way to just find elements in any world, whether it's Mahjong or anything else, it's so important to stay engaged and connected in as a society, mentally and emotionally too.
Yeah. And gaming is not just gaming, right? So again, all of those layers, the gathering, you can't play it by yourself.
Yeah.
You know? And so for me, it's just it's just so much fun, Elly.
All right, we'll learn how to. I'll have to learn how to play. I was talking to a friend too, and who plays every week, and this was about 6 months ago before we did this. But she's like, "I'll teach you how to play,"
and there's different ways. Again, I learned it from. Believe it or not, I learned it from an American. A roommate, I'll just say he's a roommate, Donald. You are the one that taught me Mahjong. And, again, it's mostly, a lot of people say that it's mostly played by women, but it's really, growing up, no, it's both titos and titas that played it, but it is definitely a coming together piece. And I've played it in the Chinese Jamaican way, okay? Which to me, that's, and the Jamaican way is very close to the way that the Chinese played it, probably because of the influence of the Chinese in Jamaica, but it was so much, it was too much, because again, they played with the winds, and with the winds was, when you play with the winds change and turn, and so then if the game's going this way, then it changes and it goes this way, and it got so complicated. I was like, whoa, I'm lost.
Oh, interesting.
And then more recently, I tried to. I could not. I just lost. I just said, forget it. I was invited by some American. I don't want to say that they're Jewish, but I think they were, maybe not all, but they met, and she's like, oh, if you love to play Mahjong, come join us. And so I was very excited, thinking, oh, I'm gonna play it like the way that I know it, the Filipino way, or maybe even the Chinese way, I would understand it a little bit. but they were playing it like the Charleston way. There's a Charleston way, which has got nothing to do, nothing. I mean, nothing. I was so confused, and because I was so used to playing it the Filipino way, and even though I understand some of the Jamaican way, I was going, I just, finally I said, it's nice meeting everybody, but I'm gone, you know? And they were fancy. They had the table, those $1,000 tables that pull up the Mahjong piece and just magically appear. Oh yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's insane.
It was so funny because her son was saying, Mom, that's my inheritance. Because she bought this $1,000 Mahjong table.
Oh my gosh. Well, the interesting thing is I didn't know that there were different forms of the playing. So I was already kind of nervous learning it because I think that it's sometimes, have you ever had it where it's in your head, it's so complicated, so you're just like, no, I'm not going to learn it. But then when you get to it, it's not that hard. I think of maybe Mahjong like that, but then now there's different elements of how people play it, which I didn't know. I thought it was just only one way.
And from what I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I heard, because GenerAsian is such an easy, and it's an understood game by the majority, that it's so easy. It's almost just like pairing, and so a lot of folks say that the Filipino way is the easiest way to learn it because really and truly it's just pairs, consecutives, Mahjong, right? Unlike, because everything else is I don't want to say waste because that's not, but everything else becomes a flower, not necessary, not needed.
Yeah.
But in other games in the other countries that play it ways, it's, again, to me, it's hard.
Yeah. I didn't realize that. So we'll have to maybe talk to an expert, bring an expert on at some point. But there seems to be a little bit of a resurgence in the Mahjong too. I know it's typically people think, oh, it might be for retired people or it might be for people, I don't know, of Asian descent, but it seems like they're talking about it in pop culture, in the Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah, Crazy Rich Asians. But then even if you watch Crazy Rich Asians though, right, the aunties that were playing there were not old, they were the middle age, they were the moms. And even when she came to play, I mean, she was of the younger generation. And I think that that's the great thing about Mahjong. It's you can't, even though it's easy to say, well, for us maybe, it's easy for us to say, oh, it's a game that, my auntie or whatever, we automatically assume that it's for the older generation.
Yeah.
But it's really, it's kind of passed down generation by generation by generation.
Yeah.
It's passed down. And so I don't think that, yes, I mean, it's on a lot of online games. It's, you go to your phone now, there's so many apps of playing Mahjong, but even when you do that, when you go, because I've actually said, oh, there's Mahjong, let me go. But it's just pairing the tiles. So it's not even the game.
Okay, it's not real per se.
It's not real Mahjong because it's really just, oh, here's a 2 bamboo, let's pair it with another 2 bamboo. So it's a very...
like a simplified version?
Very, like not even simplified. It's really just pairing. It's almost like memorization in a way. Yeah, so there's none of that strategic, it's a very much a strategy game, and seeing what tiles have been thrown and then not just thrown in the middle, in the middle of the game, sort of like the waste, the ones that are dead tiles, what they call, or even in the ones that the quorum, the players put down or pick up. And I'm not in any means even close to being professional at this. But like I have an aunt that if I pull something and I put it down, she goes, that's what you're waiting for. And I'm looking at my tile going, how the heck does she know what I'm waiting for?
Wow.
And I have an uncle who, Elly, he, if this is the tile and you take your hand and feel,
Yeah.
he will know what that title is without even looking at it.
That's interesting.
He, just by feeling it, and I'm going like, whenever we play it, and I mention that, me and my friends are like, "Can you feel it?
Yeah,
What is this?"
right,
It's almost like a test of skill. Like, can we? Is this a character? I know it's a character.
Yes. I've seen family and friends do that when as a kid growing up. I saw them. Now that you say that, I didn't remember that until you said that. But I see them feeling that tile. That's interesting, and they probably knew what it was.
Yes.
Just by feeling. Interesting.
Feeling it, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm curious where everybody's at with their Mahjong game. And when you mentioned that it's typically for the older generation, typically thought of for the older generation, I think, could Mahjong be like pickleball? Could it be the next pickleball?
Okay, why that question? Like, why are you saying pickleball? I'm trying to kind of get the connection.
Yes. So my mind is different, and I connect little tidbits to little tidbits. So in pickleball, a lot of times it started geared towards retired or older, like let's say retired people, maybe in their 60s, 70s, and so, but it's slowly been passed down. They're teaching their kids, their grandkids about it. And now the grandkids and kids are getting into pickleball. Have you ever heard of pickleball? I've
heard of pickleball, and I have a lot of friends that play it, but I see it. I'm not getting the connection, Elly.
Well, just the fact that
the passing
it's before it's thought of as kind of a retired hobby.
I see what you're saying.
And then now it's honestly taking over the world almost with its popularity and its connection, its cross-generational connection, bridging generations. Their kids, their grandkids are learning how to do this, and there's also a strategy piece to it. The way where you position yourself, same with Mahjong, there's a strategy piece too, so it works the mind as well as, well, this works the body and the mind, whereas Mahjong just works maybe the mind and the hands a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good thought process of it. But for me, when I think of Mahjong, and if I were to kind of like really pigeonhole it in picking one thing that I should, it really and truly is all about the bonding.
Yeah.
It's all about the coming together. Yes, the game is important. Obviously, it's the game. The strategy is important. But a lot of it is really in the conversation that is around that table.
Okay.
And the coming together, and I really want to, and you mentioned Crazy Rich Asians. Crazy Rich Asians really gives a very good example of how Mahjong is, how the community comes together, and even, because as you know, like she was the one that really is supposed to win in the end on that game, but she gives it to her elder.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of that. I mean, just the interaction, the play. There's so much about really the bonding, as opposed to, like, to me, and because I don't play pickleball, I think pickleball is very much in the strategizing and more like the strategizing of it, like the physicalness of the sport, maybe.
Well, but it takes two, I think, for pickleball, not four. Well, four maybe total, I think. And I think there's a coming together too, but it's in a different way. It seems like it might be in a different way. But generally speaking, I think it would be neat if Mahjong could be as popular as pickleball, because it's taken on, and it's pickleballers are getting, is that a word? Pickleballers are getting their families into it, and I can see the same thing happen potentially for Mahjong, and it may be already happening with the game now.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I do know that it's it's just hard for me it's hard for me, again, because I've lived mostly in such an American world.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I was even introduced to it by an American, right?
Yeah.
However, you know, I do meet with the group of my Asian alumni girls, and every time we meet, every year that we meet, the first thing that goes in the car besides the rice cooker is that Mahjong set.
That's great.
You
That's
know,
fun.
and we're always game, and again, it's the conversations around it, and if I were to pick, like I said, it's just the bonding piece in the conversation.
That's great.
Sometimes even more than the game itself.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. But I also love the strategy to it, that it can work our minds, because our brains are a muscle. So being able to kind of work our minds, especially as we continue to work with the game and at any point in our lives. So I think it can be for anybody. It doesn't matter what your background is. You don't have to be Asian. You don't have to be, you know, any sort of, it could be any ethnicity, which is kind of cool, and any generation too, because it can bridge those gaps, and it doesn't have to be about the different elements before, like maybe the gambling piece. It's more of that community and bonding.
Community and the bonding, yeah. I'm curious to know, any of you out there, we mentioned the Filipino way, the Chinese way, and the Jamaican way. Are there any other ways?
Yeah.
You know, or I know that there's a Charleston way, and I don't even know if that's the American way.
Okay.
Only that it was Americans, you know, playing it.
Yeah.
Like, what other ways are there in the game of Mahjong?
Yeah.
And what do you play? And I guess because Jamaicans have the Jamaican way, Filipino have like, is it a country?
Yeah.
You know, is it like learned country-wise? I don't know.
Well, no, that's a good point. And if you don't play Mahjong, is there a game or something that connects you that bonds you with the community and your community? I think it's kind of cool to see what other games the games or things that we do to connect each other, because Mahjong is just one form of connection and bonding. But what are the other ways that you connect? If you don't play Mahjong, what are some other ways that you connect with your community too? And if you don't, maybe it's time to gather your people and play some Mahjong. Thank you so much for being with us today. We can't wait to hear your comments. Please feel free to like and subscribe, of course, too. And we really appreciate you joining us as always. Bye, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye.